What do a fisherman and a teacher of the law of Moses have in common? The answer: the lives of both men were forever changed by meeting Jesus Christ, the Son of God. How has your life changed because of meeting Jesus? We all know that St. Peter was the first pope, and we all know that St. Paul was responsible for much of the New Testament and the spreading of the gospel to the Gentiles, the non-Jewish world. In fact, 13 out of the 27 books of the New Testament are attributed to St. Paul. St. Peter was a fisherman from Galilee. He and his brother, also an apostle named Andrew, worked together. Peter was not an educated man, nor was the most diplomatic. Nonetheless, it is St. Peter that Jesus made the head of the church, the rock. In his life after the ascension of Jesus, he focused his preaching on those who were of the Jewish faith. We believe that St. Peter was martyred around the year 64 during the reign of the Roman Emperor Nero. He was crucified, but because he did not think himself worthy to die in the same way that Jesus did, he requested that he be crucified upside down. He was buried in what was to become the Vatican necropolis, or Vatican cemetery. Later, St. Peter's Basilica was built over his tomb. If one goes to St. Peter's in Rome today, it's possible to go down into the old cemetery and see that indeed his tomb is exactly under the main altar in the basilica. St. Paul was from Tarsus in modern-day Turkey, where his family were tent makers. Unlike St. Peter, St. Paul was well-educated, a fervent Pharisee, and an early persecutor of Christians. He never knew Jesus, but nonetheless persecuted those he thought were desecrating the Jewish faith before meeting the Lord on the road to Damascus, which then led to his conversion and becoming the apostle of Jesus to the Gentiles. St. Paul is also said to have been martyred during the time of the Roman Emperor Nero, but St. Paul was beheaded rather than crucified because he was a Roman citizen. Remember that Roman citizens were never crucified. For many centuries, the Church has celebrated these two foundational apostles of the Church on the same day, June 29th, though they do also have their own individual days. So St. Paul's feast day is on January 25th, and St. Peter's is on February 22nd. Both men, after the ascension of Jesus, spent their lives proclaiming the gospel. Their ultimate confession of faith comes by the very shedding of their blood for the sake of Jesus and the gospel of love. The faith in Christ that sustains us today rests upon the foundations of the apostles, on their blood, in their confession, by their teaching. Without their place in the history of salvation, the place that the Church remembers with the present solemnity, our faith would have crumbled long ago. The solemn blessing at the end of Mass is a fitting way to keep our faith alive every day. We say, or we will be blessed by the words, by the keys of St. Peter and the words of St. Paul, and by the support of their intercession, may God bring us happily to that homeland that Peter attained on a cross and Paul by the blade of a sword. Blessings to you all.